Welcome back to the Kingscrowd Podcast. I'm Brian Belay, Vice President of Product at Kingscrowd. Every week, we're exploring the data, deals, and people who are shaping the future of the retail private markets. So whether you're an angel, a founder, or just venture curious, there's something here for you. Now, this week, we have a very special guest. I'm actually a little bit shocked it took us this long to get him on this podcast, but that is our founder and CEO at Kingscrowd. So Chris Lustrino, welcome to the pod.
I'm so glad to finally be on. I can't believe we haven't made this happen either, but I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. Now, in Chris's defense, he does have his own podcast called Inside Startup Investing. So for those of you who are out there and curious about that, make sure you check that out. A little plug there. But one of the things that we do each week is we jump into the news and the different things happening in the industry to keep everyone up to date. And there's been some very big news over the past 2 weeks related to Kingscrowd. So for those who haven't heard, Kingscrowd and Chris announced the acquisition of CrowdCheck. Now, Chris, I know you just announced this. The CrowdCheck name is something that's probably no stranger to anyone who's already been in the industry. Tons of trust there, tons of brand credibility. But why don't you walk us through a little bit, just what the acquisition means for Kingscrowd and for the industry as a whole?
Well, one of the things that I absolutely love about CrowdCheck, and one of the things that led us to want to acquire them and eventually actually make it happen, is that for the last 2.5 years, for those who are intimately kind of knowledgeable of Kingscrowd, you know that we launched a advisory arm of our business under the brand Raise Papers. And Raise Papers for the last 2 years has really been supporting founders in structuring their Reg CF deals and actually creating all of the form documentation from the Form C to to their securities, so on and so forth, structuring their whole deal before they actually raise capital online, right? And all of that has been powered by our data sets here at Kingscrowd, right, where we've learned from looking at 10,000 plus Reg CF and Reg A offerings, what all of those form filings look like. And we now have a templatized process around that in the future could even be fully AI enabled, right? And so we've built that business and served hundreds and hundreds of founder clients get ready for their Reg CFs or provide annual reporting post-close of their raise. And along that way, one of the opportunities we continuously saw as a way to grow our business was to expand into the Regulation A space, creating Form 1As for founders and helping them structure their deals. Unfortunately, it was really, really hard for us to win any of that business. And the reason for that is that CrowdCheck has quite literally owned that space for about the last decade. Sarah Hank, who is the founder of CrowdCheck, is incredible. She's one of the most trusted, well-regarded people in our industry. She's, definitely considered one of the kind of knowledge experts and owners of the Jobs Act space. And her and her team, I mean, they're exceptional. It's a team of really, really incredible lawyers who have kind of dedicated themselves to the Jobs Act space and really owning that Regulation A space. If you've invested in a Reg A deal, there's a high likelihood they've been involved in it. And people send them all their deals, right? They are the most trusted source for getting Regulation A offerings qualified. And for those who don't know, Regulation A is really, really challenging, right? Because you're allowed to raise up to $75 million a year from the general public, the SEC says, hey, listen, you're going to have to provide us a lot of information that very much reflects what you would see in an S1, which is what a company files before they go public. And so all of that to say is that these folks have owned that space for many years, have built an incredible business around it, a profitable business around it. And when the opportunity presented itself to be able to acquire them, we were really, really excited because now we could fully tech enable the Regulation A space as well and team up with the best minds in the industry. And so under our founder advisory division now, we literally can service founders who are just getting started and doing their first Reg CF and filing those Form Cs to helping these really well-established companies file their Regulation A offerings. And CrowdCheck even has the ability to help founders file their S1s when they get ready for an IPO. So we have a full suite of end-to-end solutions now on the founder advisory side of the business to really help founders navigate these waters. And I think putting together two of the most trusted names in the industry is a pretty exciting outcome.
I think a lot would agree. Now, I think one of the things that's really interesting about it, and no, it's just been taking a ton of your time. So kudos to you just on the move. Everyone has been congratulating you and us. I think that it just makes perfect sense, right? It's kind of the yin and the yang coming together with this great partnership between what Kingscrowd advisory and what we have with our data and joining that up with the expertise and the brand and everything at CrowdCheck. Now, as a business, right, this is one of our lines of business. So, Kingscrowd Advisory is the line of business focused on founders. Can you maybe talk about just what bringing the CrowdCheck brand under the Kingscrowd umbrella, what does that do for Kingscrowd Inc. as a business?
First off, it adds millions in new revenue, right? And hundreds of new clients that we're going to be able to work with, on day zero. And we're already having an opportunity to meet with those clients. And I have to tell you, one of the best things in this transition thus far in the first couple of weeks here is I've had an opportunity to meet with the team, and I've had an opportunity to meet with the clients. And the team, culture wise, I think we're just really phenomenal fits. I think, we actually resemble each other in a lot of ways, which is pretty cool. And then on the customer side, I mean, every customer I talk to just says, we love working with CrowdCheck. They are our provider. We're not going anywhere. And that's what we like to hear, right? So they've done a lot of things exceptionally well. So, in terms of shareholder value, it obviously increases the value of Kingscrowd pretty substantially just in terms of the growth, size, and breadth of our company. But as we think about this long term, right, by adding this, as I've already kind of hit on just a little bit, is our advisory arm now really can help support founders from end to end on the founder side of thing. And what that looks like is, we could help founders go from thinking about doing a Reg CF for the first time to figuring out where they should list, how much they can expect to raise, what their budgets need to be, structure the entire deal, file all of the forms, go off and list on a platform. And then they could come back to us now with our IR platform that will be launching this spring through our acquisition of Lustro earlier this year. They'll be able to actually provide follow-on updates to their investors and engage their investor audience in a really thoughtful way. Then as their annual reports become due, we can help them file all of their annual reports. And then as they grow as a business and need to raise more capital and move into things like Regulation A or even a Reg D, we can help them file all of those forms, structure all of those deals, file all of that information, and then continue to provide that follow-on reporting and investor relations along the way. So quite literally from end to end, we can support founders throughout the entire process of their capital raising and growth journey. And most excitingly is it's powered by the Kingscrowd operating system, right? Which is our data set. At the end of the day, by controlling the data on the 10,000 plus companies that have ever raised capital under Reg CF and Reg A, and that we're continuing to add every day, right? Tens or hundreds of new companies that are raising capital in this space, we will continue to build the most comprehensive database that helps answer the questions for founders of how should I structure my deal? What should it look like? And in the future, the ability to take all of that data, train the AI models on that data, and actually be able to generate, first drafts of all of these report requirements will really enable us to speed up time to market for founders and create a better product. So I think a lot of that is just incredibly exciting. And at the crux of it all is that ability to answer the questions that founders have via our data sets.
Awesome. Yeah, you pretty much just touched on a ton of the big highlights for our product roadmap for 2025, right? So for the founders that are out there, definitely start to get engaged if you haven't been already on Kingscrowd on the platform, because as Chris mentioned, we're going to be launching this investor relations platform to be able to allow you to post raise, manage your audience of investors and get additional exposure. And on the investor side, right, there's going to be tons of value from that driven being able to get updates from the companies directly on Kingscrowd, being able to get it directly in your portfolio. I think we're really just trying to build value for people and solving some of these real pain points. So I don't know about you, Chris. This time of year, though, like weather is fantastic outside. It's great, but we have tons of raises that are closing. So the end of April is a big close date in the industry because Reg CF traditionally have to get their financials updated for the prior two fiscal years. And so a lot of raises will be closing. One of those that may be closing that I think would be a little shameless plug here, potentially is Kingscrowd. So why don't you tell anyone who's listening, if they're interested about this growth, about the CrowdCheck acquisition and being part of the journey, where can they learn more?
So, we have always been very committed to raising capital in the space and always allowing our customers to at least have a portion of any round that we're doing, right? So we've been raising a $2.5 million round for the past couple of months. That's on Start Engine, startengine.com/Kingscrowd, or you go to invest.kingscrowd.com. They're both powered by Start Engine. And you have an opportunity to come in on this round. We've had nearly 100 investors directly on Start Engine already invest, and we've had some larger folks invest offline as well, all on the same terms. So across both of those, I think we've raised a little over $500,000. And I think you'll find that the terms are really attractive when you combine the fact that we've made 2 major acquisitions this year alone, and what that means from a revenue perspective and growth perspective for our business. We've also made our first director of sales hire, who's driving a ton of founder advisory growth already before this acquisition. And we've hired our first marketing agency to really start marketing our consumer subscription business as well. So we have a lot of really, really phenomenal things that are occurring right now within our business. And we're providing that opportunity for, one more week until April 30th to be able to invest currently at the current terms. We are currently assessing opportunities to continue to raise at a valuation that fully bakes in the acquisitions that we've recently made. So if you're interested, definitely go check them out. We're going to be hosting some more webinars and providing a whole bunch of updates over the next week. So definitely at least follow us on Start Engine if you're interested in learning more.
Yeah. So just to clarify for the potential investors who are out there, maybe on the fence, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you launched the round, the CrowdCheck acquisition was not part of any of that in terms of projections or anything else. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And we've made all the material amendment filing. So all the information is available about the acquisition on the raise. So you go check that out. But yeah, we've left the current terms as is, which is what we've been kind of doing for the insiders, right? The larger check writers. And we thought it was only right to continue to allow our own customers to be able to invest at those terms as well, even though the transaction has gone through now. So we think it presents a really attractive entry point. Again, those are projections and all the things, but and it's certainly not advice, but we really like our position of where we are based on everything that we've done to date.
Fantastic. Well, Chris, anything else you want to add just before we sign off here?
I just want to, thank our customers. We have some amazing customers, amazing investors who have continuously supported us, backed us, and helped us get to where we are today. And none of these things are possible without them. So we really appreciate you listening in, subscribing to our services, being investors in Kingscrowd. It's pretty cool to see our community continue to grow and to have so much support, behind us. It means a lot, and it certainly makes all the hard work worth it.
I can't echo that enough. And for anyone who's watching this, if you ever have product ideas, feedback, things that would make your life easier as an investor or founder, let us know. Feel free to reach out to us. We're super accessible. Throw a comment here, on the podcast channel or on YouTube, or reach out to us by email. We love hearing from our customers. Well, thank you, Chris, for joining us. Thanks again, and we'll see everyone back here next week.